Well, hello, everybody. Welcome. This is your girl, Deborah Franklin. Y'all, I'm so excited about today because we are talking about what is your issue. And I wanted to jump on because we're trying some new things. We're getting some new things set up for our new season. And today I'm just coming on as the coach, y'all. I'm coming on because we got some things that are going on, and I've been doing some studying, especially like during this time in this pandemic. I've been checking some things out, and this one thing that just kept standing out in my mind about what we're going through and what we are experiencing at this time. Oh, I'm so sorry. For those of you that don't know me, this is your first time ever tuning in and catching me live, I am Deborah Franklin. I am an author, a speaker, and a coach. I help women in ministry and educators develop their stories into multiple streams of income. Yes, y'all, and I mean just that. But today, y'all, I want to talk about what is your issue? What is your issue? And the thing that stood out to me when I was thinking about what is your issue, it was the woman with the issue of blood. And I was like, oh my God, I had a whole different revelation on that. And look, you know what? Let me just read the story because you know what? We always talk about, oh, this is a familiar part of scripture. But you know what? It's familiar, but we're going to go through it just because. And I am going to be reading out of, I think, the NIV. Love the NIV. So let's just jump right in. And it's going to be coming from Mark 5:25 through 34. We're going to go through this. So, and it reads, and a woman was there who had been subject to bleeding for 12 long years. She had suffered a great deal under the care of many doctors and had spent all she had, yet instead of getting better, she grew worse. Okay, let's jump right back. I'm going to just hit this like I'm feeling it because this thing was messing me up. And a woman was there who had been subject to bleeding for 12 long years. Can y'all imagine? Okay, this is just for the women. Could you imagine hemorrhaging and having to deal with all that foolishness for 12 long years? And they didn't even have always like we have now. Think about that. Let's roll with that. We're going to keep it moving. She had suffered a great deal under the care of many doctors, had spent all she had, yet instead of getting better, she grew worse. So she kept trying to get help. She kept reaching out to people. She kept reaching out to somebody who was legitimately licensed, educated to help her. So she kept going for help. So it wasn't like she was just sitting there waiting for something to happen. She kept reaching out. Then when she had heard about Jesus, she came up behind him in the crowd and touched his cloak because she thought, if I just touched his clothes, I will be healed. Now let's look at that a little closer. She wasn't supposed to be touching nobody, y'all, because back then you were considered, if you were on your cycle, on your period, if you were bleeding, you were considered unclean. So she took it, she jumped out of the norm. She said, forget this on the status quo. This is my only hope. This is my only chance. I got to leap out and get this done. She immediately, her bleeding stopped. She felt in her body that she was free from her suffering. Y'all, just from touching the hem of his clothing, she felt free. Then at once, Jesus realized the power had gone out from him. He turned around in the crowd and asked, who touched my clothes? Okay, y'all, let's think about this. Think about the cloaks they used to wear. This thing was all the way, let's for kicks and giggles. You know that robe that you had to wear on Sunday that go down to your ankles, and just think about somebody touching that. Do you really feel that? So that means not only was he anointed, but the clothes he had on was anointed. Y'all, that's a whole different lesson, but we ain't finna go there. Because see, your anointing should be all over you, not just on you as a person, but it should be on everything that you do. When somebody sees you, when somebody touches anything that has been in your possession, it should have the power on it. So that's a whole different lesson. We're not gonna go there. We're just gonna stick with the woman. All right, so 31. You see people crowding against her. Her disciples answered, and yet you can ask, who touched me? So the disciples are with him. These is homeboys. They with him. They're like, dude, for real? All these people around you and you talk about somebody touched you? Of course somebody touched you. You in a crowd. But Jesus kept looking around to see who had done it. But see, the difference with her touch and the difference with somebody else's touch is that he felt the power coming out of her, out of him. And because, there was healing in the him. We're going to come back to that too, y'all. We're going to talk about the healing in the him, but that's going to be something else. All right. Then the woman, knowing what had happened to her, came and fell at his feet, trembling with fear, told him the whole truth. See, number one, she didn't want to say nothing, but she had to because he kept asking, who touched me? Who touched me? Who touched me? She didn't want to say nothing. She just wanted to get her healing, move on to the next, and then be somewhere else. But then the woman, let's see, knowing what had happened to her, because she knew that she had been healed. She knew that the bleeding had stopped. She knew that out of all the things that she had been trying for 12 years, 12 years, she had been trying to get healed. Some of y'all can't handle 2 days with trying to get your business started, 3 days without trying to get your book written, 3 days, and you can't even figure out something on how to go to the next level. Okay, let's keep going. He said to her, daughter, your faith has healed you. Go in peace and be freed from your suffering. As far as she was concerned, she was already freed. He just gave her that extra push. How many of you got an issue? What is your issue? What has God delivered you from? What do you know that God healed you from, delivered you out of? Was it because you were hooked on drugs? Was it because you had a miscarriage and God delivered you from the guilt, the pain, the uncertainty, or even God even showed you that it wasn't your fault? What have you been delivered from? What is your issue that, like the woman, God has healed you, God has delivered you, God has set you free? But then when that question is asked, how did you do it? You don't even articulate it. You have the blessing that God has given you in this time and in this season, and you won't share it? That's great. That's y'all. Come on. This woman had been sick for so long. She had went to everybody. So, all those people that you thought was supposed to help you, could have helped you, but didn't help you. How many of you have been delivered from this and you will not tell your story because you're feeling like, oh, it just happened to me. I'm not the one that I can't tell anybody about what happened to me because they gonna look at me different. They gonna talk about me. They not gonna be around me anymore. Guess what? They still gonna hate on you. They still gonna shun you. They still gonna not step to you because they gonna make it up of what they don't know. Francesca, I understand miscarriage with my first child son. I understand because I was right there and I told my story. I was beginning in ministry. Found out I was pregnant on a Monday, miscarried on a Friday, and and I lost my son as well. And I had to tell my story because not only with the miscarriage was I hurt, was I confused, was I like, God, why am I being cursed? Why can I not have a child? What is going on? This is something that I really want. I'm operating in shame and I'm in ministry. But I had to go to God and I really had to ask for deliverance in that area. And did I cry? I cried every day for like 90 days. Because in that dark season, I lost my job. I almost lost my house. I lost relationships. I lost almost everything and almost lost my mind. I literally went to church every day, sitting in where I was supposed to sit and cried every service. I never talked to anybody. This was the most alone time and dark time that I went through. But I couldn't tell anybody because God would just have me stuck in silence. But little did I know that while I was going through, God was also showing me how I could tell my story, how I could share with some other people so they would know that just because something happens to you in that instance, in that minute, in that moment, that you can't be healed, set free, and delivered. And yes, Francesca, you were raped at a young age. And I know, or so I've heard, that some people use that still that hurts from then even up until now. How many other women have been raped and ended up with the product of a child? How many other women have had to deal with being alone because they couldn't tell the whole story? How many women do you know that have been through certain things and they don't have the comfort of knowing that they are not alone? This is why you have to tell your story. I have friends and they have groups and they talk about loss of children to gun violence. Y'all, that's serious. To have to deal with the loss of your child to gun violence, or even your child was the person that inflicted the gun violence. That's a story that needs to be told, because that's just like that mother, that father touching the hem of that garment to be set free from that pain. And I'm not saying that it still won't hurt. I'm not saying that you still won't have those days that that you will cry. I'm not telling you that you still won't have those days that you're going to feel like you're stuck in depression. I'm not going to tell you there are going to be some days that you're going to feel like you're not going to be able to make it. But but to know that you have been set free and delivered gives you that extra feeling of comfort. That gives you that motivation to move on to the next level. So again, I ask, what is your issue? And then I'm going to take it even now from just loss. I want to talk about you not stepping up to the plate and not doing what God has called you to do because you are afraid. Guys, you got this. You can never know if you're going to be a success if you never start. You won't know that you're going to be able to finish until you start. You will never know that how successful you could be if you never take it to the next level. Stop letting fear slow you down. Stop letting fear take you, isolate you. Stop letting fear put you in such a stronghold that you can't move forward. Stop letting fear hold you back from sharing things that you need to share. Don't let fear make you get to the point where you can't even ask anybody for help. We have got to step out of our comfort zone. We have not been put in this pandemic for not to be able to stuck in your comfort zone. Yes. God just sent me back to the house. Oh, wow. I had nightmares for many 13 years. God set me free and deliverance from what I had to go through. So again, Francesca is telling us this is not something that happens overnight. And don't let anybody tell you that it is. Yes, Ty, wow. Wow. Don't let anybody tell you how long you're supposed to mourn or how long you're supposed to grieve over something. But you cannot let your grief and your mourning paralyze you. That is the key. You cannot let grief and mourning paralyze you. You cannot let fear paralyze you. You cannot let the what ifs and the shoulda, coulda, wouldas paralyze you. You cannot let what people say paralyze you. Because let me tell you this secret. If it's for you, God is definitely going to make a way for it to happen. If it is for you, who in the world can be against you? Let them say what they want to say. Let them do what they want to do. But it is up to you to stand up and do what you have been called to do. You are gifted and you are talented in this. Yes, Francesca, you can finally move forward in life. I love it. Yes, I agree, touch and agree with you. Because in that season of going through, you have got to really grab hold to what God is trying to share with you and do with you. Because in this time and in this season, we have all been put through things that we were not ready for, that we were not accustomed to, that we were like, whatever. I'm just being honest with you. But again, we cannot let what's going on God to hinder us from where we're going. Because as I always say, what are you going to do when we get to the other side of this? What have you put in motion that you are getting ready to see go to the next level? What is your issue? And this is my plea to the women that are watching my broadcast. Y'all know that as women, we have issues. OMG. We have issues. But when we learn to work together, when we learn to take it to the next level, when we learn to support each other, then, to learn, when we learn to walk in unity with each other, when we learn to motivate and inspire each other, we are going to take this world by storm. It is not by circumstance. Those of you that are logged in and seeing me today, some of you, it might even be your first time. And again, I ask, what is your issue? What is stopping you from getting delivered? Just like the woman with the issue of blood. You can't let time be what you say is stopping you. Because look, she was suffering for 12 years. She was suffering from isolation for 12 years. So what that they don't call you for everything? So what that they don't show up when you think that they should? Take advantage of your alone time to move on to the next level. You have got to take your situation and you have got to learn how to move past and do some other things with your life. You have got to be able to and to tell your story like never before. God lets you survive this so you could tell your story. God let you move to this next level so you could tell your story. God has showed you what you are supposed to do so you can tell your story. Because other women, even men, even children, everybody, if anybody should hear your story, they should be able to they will be set free. Because God lets us go through things as a testimony for not just for us, but for the ones that you share about your testimony. Let's take it to another woman, the woman at the well, who had all these husbands. And Jesus said, give me a drink of water. And she said, I can't give it to you because, we not of the same place. And he said, well, this is just like the other men that you laid up with. He could have cast her out right then. But he said, drink from the water that never runs dry. I am that living water. Could you imagine that happening to you? And then it states she ran and told everybody. So first of all, she had to be compelling because you already knew they were talking about her. You already knew her name was mud all through the neighborhood because she was at the well by herself. She wasn't even at the well with the other women. So that shows you that the other women had shunned her. But after she had drunk from the well that never ran dry, she went and told everybody. She was then a disciple. So that says it doesn't matter what your story is. It doesn't matter what you have gone through. It does not matter how you've had to suffer. Your story is important. Your story is necessary. Your story needs to be heard. Your story is what needs to be done in the world. Your story is beneficial. Yes, your story will impact others. Yes, thank you, to learn. Very true. I agree. You have got to tell your story. And don't let anybody tell you that what you have to say is not necessary. I tell people, don't let anybody tell you that you're not good enough, that you're not ready for this, that you need to wait. Wait time is over. It's time for you to jump out, stand up, and be bold in what you do. Because God did not call you or let you go through this to be alone. God did not call you or let you go through this and not for you to suffer. God did not call you, let you experience your loss, your pain, your surgeries, your scars, not to be able to tell somebody. Because somebody needs to know that, yes, you may have lost a breast. Yes, you may have lost a kidney. Yes, you may have to be on the dialysis, but God can still set you free and deliver you from those things. They need to know that whatever they're going through, that God can still make it through. Yeah, you probably lost a breast, but guess what? You got another one in place. You people have got to know that just because the diagnosis may be bad, but God is the true deliverer. God is the healer. And even if you didn't get healed, how have you been able to handle it? What are the tips that you can give somebody because they are going through something that you have gone through? I really want you to think about that. And I really want you to really pray about the situation. Because it is time for you to tell your story. Yeah, it is. Because if you are still on here with me, you know that you have an issue. And you know that God has delivered you from that issue. You know that it's time for you to share your story with the world. Because I've shared my story. In fact, y'all, this was not even planned. This was just a shirt that was clean. Adjectives was my first book that I ever wrote because it helped me tell my story. Because not only did I was a survivor, I'm a survivor. I'm a survivor of verbal abuse. I'm a survivor of shame, of having basically getting pregnant and I wasn't married and having a miscarriage. I am a survivor of self-doubt. I am a survivor of thinking that I wasn't good enough. So in other words, I'm a survivor of self-hatred. How did I get over it? My first step is that I learned to love me. My first step, I learned to respect me. When you learn to love yourself and respect yourself, then guess what? Everybody else will start too. Then you will start operating. And when I really learned what my purpose and my destiny was, that's when I really saw a change. That's when I really started to see myself going to another level. That's when I really started to see different doors opening up for me, different opportunities opening up for me. That's when I realized that I did have favor in some areas. Because honestly, I walked around and thought I was cursed. But I know God did not put me here for that. And so for those of you that are still on and those that are watching the replay, I really want you to join me in this project. It's called I Survived. I don't look like what I've been through. The book collaboration. Yo, I will be doing monthly coaching. I'll be doing coaching. It'll be monthly through the project. You'll get 5 books, 5 journals, promo cards. We got a secret Facebook group that we'll operate in, and we'll even have an opportunity to work with a writing coach to help you tell your story effectively. The investment is only $12.97, and you get all of this. And I need you to secure your spots by September the 16th, because after that, the price does go up. But I know you have a story to tell. Just like, yes, you know what? I'm a survivor. Are you a survivor? Just like Destiny's Child song, I'm a survivor, I'm not gonna give up. That's what you need to be your anthem. You need to start to tell the world that you are a survivor. you are not going to give up. And join us in this journey, telling your story. Because when you get on this journey, and we're looking for 10 women to tell your story of survival. Because when women get together, not only think about what happens when we pray, but what happens when we tell our stories collectively? What happens when we share our stories collectively? What happens when we get on the front line together, share our stories of our trials, our tribulations, and our successes? Because women need to know that they can survive and that they will survive. Women need to know that they are here and they have support. Women need to know that they can do this because you are a survivor. I am a survivor. Now you need to encourage the other women in your life and the women that will read this book that they too can be survivors. If you got any questions, leave me a message because you are what? A survivor.